When workers in America go on strike, corporations are increasingly turning to local police forces and judges to defeat them.
King Soopers says it wants to restrain the union by having 5 or fewer pickets on the premises.
A federal judge has blocked BNSF's railroads unions workers from going on strike.
Corporations are running a two-pronged assault on their own workers. It all comes down to intimidation by weaponizing local police forces.
This is the New York City Police Department. You are unlawfully in the roadway and obstructing vehicular traffic.
And restricting workers' rights to speech and assembly by weaponizing the courts.
The Constitution says I have freedom of speech. Where am I going to assemble that I'm not going to go to jail?
I went to Alabama to speak with Warrior Met coal miners who have been dealing with this sort of thing since April 1st, 2021.
Like when you think of a strike, that's the image that you have in your head, is the picket line. And see, that's something we've had to fight for here.
Judges have helped the coal company, Warrior Met, impose an onslaught of legal maneuvers, like restraining orders and injunctions, to limit the effectiveness of the miners' strike.
What an injunction basically does is allows a party to petition the courts to get a ruling from the judge, in this case, about what a party can or can't do, which has the force of law in effect.
For the coal miners, that's meant strict limits on who can picket, where they can stand, how many workers can protest at one time, and even what they can carry when they're out on the line. At one point, a judge barred worker protests altogether. That doesn't seem like constitutionally speaking.
No, it's not. It's not at all. I mean, they're trying to take away the freedom of speech.
This is happening nationwide, including at the largest and most high-profile strikes. Kroger, the largest U.S. grocery chain, got a judge to limit the number of people allowed out on the picket line.
No more than 10 people can be picketing at any time at each one of the King Soopers locations.
John Deere workers were allowed just 4 at a time in October.
Also, the order eliminates burn barrels, food piles, or even chairs.
Kellogg's got a judge to keep workers away from their plant, which deprived them of the chance to rally public support for their cause, which is kind of the whole point of a picket line.
Telling the Omaha chapter of the International Union to stop interfering with its business while workers picket outside the plant.
Some companies have even gotten courts to outlaw strikes altogether before they even start.
A federal judge decided today to block 17,000 Burlington Northern Santa Fe workers from going on strike.
In January, train workers at BNSF voted to strike over a policy that forces them to work for weeks on end with no days off. A judge barred not only the workers, but family members or others acting in solidarity with them from authorizing, encouraging, permitting, calling, or engaging in any strikes, stoppages, picketing slowdowns, or sick-outs. Under a 5th preliminary injunction issued on December 7th, Warrior Met coal miners were limited to having just 2 picketers at each of the mine's 12 entrances.
Now they have designated picketing spots.
They stopped us from picketing, and it's like just a complete violation of our freedom of speech.
Yeah, it's very one-sided. I mean, Warrior Met's, they got the best judges money can buy.
So if you're in violation of those orders, you are in effect breaking the law, so that you can be arrested and put in jail and charged.
In all of these cases, judges sided with the corporations, who blamed any altercations on the picket lines on the workers. But union reps and workers say that's not the whole story.
All you've seen was things that happened from the picketers' part. You didn't see where the strikers were actually hitting our people with cars.
That's what happened to Amy Pilkerton, a coal miner's wife in Brookwood, Alabama, and member of the Women's Auxiliary.
I think there was probably about 8 of us just walking the picket line. And next thing I know, I hear an acceleration of a car and, he hits me and he keeps going.
I took off walking towards the car. They pulled me back across the line. I did. I went across. I did. But I didn't do that for any other reason, but that's my wife. I got served with criminal trespassing papers.
I'm done been subpoenaed to court for criminal trespassing. If I did step over onto their property that they're claiming criminal trespassing, it is because one of their employees hit me with a car, therefore made me go over the picket line.
How does a police officer with a sworn oath turn a blind eye to everything that's going on?
That's where corporate use of public police as an intimidation corps comes in. The miners I talked to said the Alabama state troopers were getting paid to escort scabs into the mines to take their jobs.
Well, the company is paying them as an off-duty officer, but they're still in state trooper vehicles, they're still in their uniform.
We were on the court steps of the Capitol building with a megaphone asking her why state troopers were using taxpayer funds to escort company employees across the picket line.
You can't continue to send them state troopers to escort them scabs into the mine. It's ridiculous and it's unacceptable.
And their response is that they're out there to protect everyone, which they're not. They're not out there protecting us from being hit. Like I said, all they're doing is escorting these school buses.
Police presence is being used in similar ways across the country.
Unfortunately, the local police here, because of our mayor, was really deciding that they wanted to escort these people in and out and basically work as security for the Kellogg Company.
There's the 6 arrests of peaceful protesters on the Hunts Point produce market picket line.
You will be placed under arrest and charged with disorderly conduct.
Or the near constant police presence at a Coca-Cola bottling plant.
The Coca-Cola management reached out to the City of Bethlehem Police Department and requested a police presence.
In many of these cases, the cost of that police presence on the picket lines is paid for by the companies themselves.
I'm also concerned that it's a slippery slope when we are getting involved in labor management disputes. And as a city, I don't want to be perceived as us aligning with one side or the other.
This is what it boils down to. Companies raking in millions or billions of dollars in revenue on the backs of their workforce are choosing to pour money into smear campaigns, court orders, and police compensation to crush strikes rather than just sitting down with workers to make their jobs and their lives even a little bit better.
That's what we've been fighting for. And if we don't keep fighting for that, these other places are going to follow suit and keep filing these injunctions and these temporary restraining orders, trying to prohibit the freedom of speech and assembly. And that's something we can't, as workers, we can't let that happen. We can't let that stand, because then the only voice that's going to get out is the voice of capitalism, the voice of capital and the bosses. And we can't let the voice of the actual workers be silenced like that.